Hello, everyone. It's me, Jeremy Senpai, and I'm here to give you yet another educational podcast where I take any form of media like TV shows, movies, books, games, whatever, and I just kind of shed some light on it, give my 2 cents, whatever. Just something pretty small to just get my thoughts out. And a few weeks ago, I talked about a Hey Arnold episode called Mugged. And as I said in that podcast, Hey Arnold is by far one of the most progressive shows that will ever exist. And sadly, it seems like a show like that will probably never surface again. There are dozens of episodes in there I feel like I can talk to death. And this is definitely one of them. This is the season 1 episode called Tutoring Torvald. Okay, the episode opens up with Arnold talking to Gerald about how to solve some multiple multiplication math problems. And then and then we cut to an older kid named Torvald who is dropped off by his friends. His friends are old enough to drive and he's going to school. And then we cut later to Arnold's fourth grade class, where we see that Torvald is also one of Arnold's classmates. And it's also worth noting that Torvald is much larger. They even say it in this episode that Torvald is at least 13. And keep in mind here that Arnold and most of his friends, I said most of, by the way, most of Arnold's friends are 9 to 10 years old. Anyway, Miss Slovak, Arnold's teacher, asked Torvald to answer a multiplication question. What's 3 times 3? And Torvald just says, very free, which causes everybody in the classroom to laugh. Either they're laughing at his laid backness at answering the question, or they're laughing at how he gave a stupid, wrong answer. The correct answer, of course, is 9. And this is when Miss Slovak goes in to say that Torvald is 13 years old and he's still in the fourth grade. Anyway, let's see. This actually, I kind of want to touch on that because it may be a bit of a throwaway line, but Torvald stalls for a bit saying, very free. But at the same time, he says it with such nonchalantness, like he genuinely doesn't care if he got right or wrong. He could have said that 3 times 3 is 100, and he probably would have responded the same way. But we'll also touch on this a bit later. Anyway, Miss Slovak decides to give Torvald a study buddy, and of course chooses Arnold because of his good grades and his practicality when it comes to multiplication that we saw earlier with Gerald. Let's see. We see Arnold in the empty classroom. We see Gerald and some of his other friends kind of watching. Torvald storms in, and Arnold tries to teach him, but Torvald kind of rebukes him, saying how math is bogus. And Arnold fires back a bit, telling Torvald that he isn't going to function in life if he can't do even basic math. And I hate to tell you all this, but yeah, we do need math in our lives. We need math to function. And no, I'm not saying that we need the more complicated stuff like calculus and statistics. I mean, maybe you do, depending on what field you're going into, like computer sciences or even linguistics. Those actually require math skills. Look, depending on what job you're going for, but at the same time, we do need math. And this seems to open up Torvald's mind a bit, realizing that he does need to apply himself. He tells Arnold to instead come to his house. Arnold goes over to Torvald's house, and here we actually meet Torvald's mom. She's sweet, very caring, and she sees Arnold, of course, as one of Torvald's friends. Let's see. And then she shows Arnold an old drawing that Torvald did when he was in school, when he was younger in younger school. He got a C. It's just an old coloring of a house. And she does say that Torvald has always had a knack for schoolwork, even though he's been held back at least 3 or 4 years. And then she tells Arnold and Torvald that she has to work a late shift. And this, of course, does reveal a lot about Torvald's home life and why he does get into a bit of trouble. Let's see. I'm going to dissect here a bit. Okay, Torvald's mom says that she works 2 jobs to bring him up, so for whatever reason, his dad isn't in the picture. Maybe he left them, maybe he died. It can't be that he's working out of state, because if so, Torvald's mom wouldn't need to work 2 jobs. She would probably only need to work one during the day. But also, this probably plays a part in Torvald's studies too, because he's growing up in a single parent household, and because studies are a bit hard for him, he just doesn't apply for himself. And of course, it's just easier to fall into something easy like a life of delinquency and juvenilism. Anyway, Torvald takes Arnold up to his room. Arnold tries to teach Torvald some study tricks, nah, but Torvald just laughs in his face. Very rightfully, Arnold gets fed up with him and storms out. He's just about to leave when he sees the drawing that Torvald's mom showed him. And this is actually where Torvald opens up a bit. He tells Arnold that a lot of parents actually rag their kids if they don't study enough, and yet in his own mom's mind, he can do no wrong. So yeah, Torvald's mom does admire him, she does, and it's obvious that this actually does make him feel a bit guilty. We see that he loves his mom and he is very respectful towards her. So yeah, when he probably can't measure up, he understandably does feel guilty about that. For him, it's just probably easier for him to act out and not be a bit of a delinquent at times. Arnold tells Torvald that he could apply himself, but Torvald breaks down a bit, telling Arnold that he tries. He really does try, but it's so hard for him. So Arnold and Torvald do make a deal. Arnold helps him, and Torvald stops bullying his friends. Torvald, of course, agrees to it. Arnold, of course, teaches Torvald more tricks, but we, of course, see Torvald struggle a bit. That he's becoming very frustrated until finally he just tells Arnold that it's just too hard. He's not angry at Arnold, he doesn't bully him or mess with him. He's angry at himself because he can't figure it out. And then we see Torvald going back to business. Sid is trying to sneak past him. Torvald tells Sid that he owes him money. Sid pays up. Then Torvald stops him again, saying that Sid owes him more money. He owes him X money, an X percentage rate of an X percentage rate of interest. Sorry, I forgot the word there. Basically telling Sid that he owes more money for a set number of interest days. Sid pays up, and then Arnold is shocked, telling Torvald that was math. And Torvald is actually surprised. He's saying, I thought it was all business. So Arnold comes to a realization. Torvald can learn, but he just needs to be taught in a way that he can understand it. And this is usually the case when it comes to his bullying. Arnold teaches him new study tricks that correlates to something he can understand. Like if he steals lunch money from a set number of kids, how much milk could he buy, etc. Okay, we see the day just before the test, we see that Torvald and Arnold have been studying real hard, so much so that Arnold has fallen asleep. Torvald is racked with nerves, he leaves a bit early, he sneaks out of his own bedroom and sneaks into the school. He's sitting at his desk, and he actually recounts that day in class, where he answered, very free. And then we see images of all the kids laughing at him. We see images of Miss Slovak and his mom. So this actually is a bit interesting, that maybe Torvald did genuinely try to answer, and secretly hoped they got it wrong, but at the same time answered it in such a melancholic way that he didn't care either way. It's kind of a 50%. If I get it right, great. If I don't, who cares? So we actually see Torvald's nerves get the better of him here. And then Arnold steps in. Torvald just tells Arnold they can't go through with it before walking out. The next day comes, and it's the day of the test. Arnold finishes early and he's about to leave. Then Torvald just walks in, surprising both Arnold and his teacher. Torvald takes his test and takes his seat in the back. A lot of time passes until Torvald is the last one. Arnold is waiting by the window for him, and he reminds Torvald of the study tricks that helped him understand. Then we cut to Torvald coming out of the classroom, and he tells Arnold very excitedly that he got a C+. Nah, he thanks Arnold for everything, and then he leaves, saying that he wants to show his mom. So yeah, that's the thing right there. Of course, Torvald is excited. He loves his mom deeply, so much so that she is the very first person that he wants to show, knowing that she will be proud of him. And it is worth noting that we don't really see much of Torvald after. I think he only makes one or two more appearances after this. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. The only other appearance I can think of is when Arnold and his friends were playing against Wolfgang and his football team. It was basically 5th graders versus 4th graders. They need an advantage, and they think of Torvald. And I love the stupid look on Wolfgang's face when this kid, bigger and older than he is, steps onto the football field, and Arnold even has to show a class picture of Torvald to prove it. Of course, it is worth noting that this is the 4th grade picture, and Mr. Simmons is in the class picture this time, not Miss Slovak. So as far as we know, Torvald probably is still a 4th grader. Maybe he's still skipping class, I don't know. Anyway, they do play a game together. Torvald is destroying them, but sadly, before they can get a goal in, he twists his ankle in a hole. But hey, give the big guy some credit here. He's even rooting his class on. He's doing it from a bench where Phoebe is probably tending to him, but hey, his heart's still in the right place. So, yeah. As far as we know, Torvald probably made good on his deal with Arnold. He's not messing with any of them. He wasn't demanding money. He genuinely seemed like he wanted to pay Arnold back and help out. That's probably what Arnold used, if he had to, telling Torvald, hey, we need help playing football against Wolfgang. And Torvald, knowing everything Arnold did for him, of course agreed right away. He may be a bit of a bully, he might still be, but even he is a bit honorable. Okay, that's about everything regarding Torvald I could think of. Now we're going to get to a real crux of this episode. A failed education system. I'm actually noticing a lot of parallels here when it comes to Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold, and most of his friends are in the 4th grade. They're 9 to 10 years old, and yet it does seem like that there are some kids who have been held back because some of them are 13 and 14 years old, and yet they're still in elementary school. Torvald is just the best example because there is an episode fully dedicated to him. But there's also Harold, who's kind of a bully and yet at the same time a friend of Arnold. Anyway, Harold, he has a bar mitzvah. He is 12 years old, going on 13 years old throughout the series, and yet he's still in the 4th grade. He's a classmate of Arnold's. So, yeah, we definitely know that Harold does struggle when it comes to his schoolwork. And another character who's actually not a classmate of Arnold's is a girl named Big Patty, but I'm just gonna call her Patty. In one episode, Helga even says that Patty is 14, and she's still in the 5th or the 6th grade, I think. So Patty is another example of a student struggling. I mean, maybe she has a learning disability like dyslexia. Maybe she really does struggle. Maybe it's not explained enough to her. But you are seeing a pattern here. Torvald, Harold, and Patty, All three of them are 13 to 14 years old, and they're all still in elementary school. So, yeah, this is definitely a prime example of a failed education system. All three of these kids struggle a bit. They definitely have struggled when it comes to their learning process. And it's the classic case of everybody's gonna laugh at me, everyone thinks I'm stupid, so this becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. They think I'm stupid, so automatically I am stupid because everyone is saying it. I failed this test, so I must be stupid. But no, that's not true. It could be any number of things. It could be how the work is explained to you. It could be where you're sitting in class. If you're sitting in the back row or even the middle to back row, you may not hear everything from the teacher. I've definitely struggled with that in my classes. It could be how it's presented to you, how it was explained to you, how you're understanding it. It could be any number of things. If you are struggling with schoolwork, do not think that you're dumb. Don't think that you're stupid. Most tests are about retaining information. It has nothing to do with your intelligence or your IQ rate. All right, most tests sadly are flawed. They're mainly about retaining the work, retaining how to perform math formulas, facts, when it comes to history and English, etc., etc. You're not dumb. You struggle. I mean, I've definitely struggled, and look at me. I'm in my last year of college. I'm about to graduate. I made it just fine, and I know you can too. Don't fear failure. It's as true now as it will ever be. It's as true now as when you were a little kid. It'll be as true now as when you're a grandparent. Don't fear failure. It's always going to be there, right beside you. Just just try your best. I know it's a cliched thing, but sometimes that's all you can do. Don't discourage and don't back down either. Anyway, that's kind of the point I want to get across. These three characters, the episode Tutoring Torvald, it really does explain a lot. And I'm definitely going to talk about more Hey Arnold. But for now, I hope this was informative for you. If I missed anything, feel free to tell me down below. But for now, this is Jeremy Senpai, sign off. Take care, everybody.